Congress. Sardar R.P. Singh, just before the broadcast was taking us through his own memories of Parliament, because let's try and make it slightly less political. And over the years, with what we've seen, where Parliament, the journey of Parliament, on where we stand today.
Well, this Parliament has a beautiful journey of maturing democracy and helping democracy mature. And in that process, there have been leaders who have shown exemplary courage, I have to say, and exemplary statesmanship also, right from Pandit Nehru till now Prime Minister Modi. All of them has done that. So this should be discussed and let the new generation understand how this Parliament has helped to mature the democracy, to let the democracy be here where it is and where it is acknowledged by the world today. Even as Preeti was saying, even I have my memories of this Parliament. As a young college student, I remember in 1982, if I rightly remember, March somewhere, there was no elections being held in city of the municipal bodies and the Metropolitan Council. I, along with my 21 colleagues, went into the Parliament, threw leaflets and said, Bahri Indira, hosh mein aao, Delhi mein chunav karao. I mean, nothing particular against Madam Indira Gandhi, but yes, because elections were not being held. And I remember I was sentenced for 21 days by the Speaker of the House from the Parliament itself. We were never sent to the court. So, this is how the democracy has matured. And then there have been movements which are movement of great pride for this country. Whether it was GST bill, which put this country together, binded this country together on economic front, whether it was Vallabhbhai Patel ji who binded this country constitutionally. So this Parliament has a very sweet memories, and then memories which will lead to a lot of answers to future questions of the democracy.
Right. You know what, Sardar R.P. Singh, I doubt if you can, or a student can go now to the Parliament like you did, because ever since the unfortunate attack on the Parliament, the security has been tightened. But having said that, everybody, especially where politicians and even journalists are concerned, have a memory where the Parliament comes into question. For a political journalist, it's like the temple there, the rite of passage. You finally come into your own if you find yourself with the Parliament past to cover it. But Anshul, Avijit, I want to bring you in. For you, it's both personal and professional. Your mother's been the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Professional, you represent the Congress party today. It's also a juncture where we stand on whether we need to celebrate democracy, and we should, and celebrate our Parliament, which we should, but also introspect. Because let's look at what's gone down in the last few sessions. There's hardly been any business that's been conducted. The stature of parliamentary debates, or what we've seen, on the floor of the House, has fallen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, this time I have to say that the Parliament, the Prime Minister's speech was qualitatively different from the ones he gave last time. I mean, this time he wasn't gunning for the opposition. The kind of names that we've heard, that we got used to, was not there in his speeches this time. But I have to say, I have to wonder what this purpose of this nostalgia trip or the recounting of history was. The big question, or the big headline before this session was, why is there so much secrecy around it? Why is the government playing hide and seek with the opposition? Why doesn't it come out with the agenda? This is all very well to recount history, a history lesson. We'll all have to remember the old Parliament as it goes by. But the real questions which are confronting this government, the questions of the people, the questions related to the ground, have to be answered. And Kharge Saab, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha of the Congress party, Adhir Ranjan ji, mentioned those things. So while we go around, celebrating our democracy, also recounting the vulnerable points of our democracy, which perhaps is now as well, we also have to remember the issues which are confronting this country. Employment, which is at a record high, China. We have to remember a number of other issues, and this we'll bring up to the floor of the House. We still don't know what the agenda of this special session of the Parliament is. You keep calling it a special session, but what makes it so special is not just the rhetorical recounting of history that's going to make it special. It has to be some announcement of something on which you can debate on. Otherwise, well, we can do it some other time. We can keep on doing it on TV debates. We can do it elsewhere, newspaper columns. there has to be an agenda on which we have to discuss, because the time of the Parliament is a precious one.
All right, RP Singh, you want to come in quickly? Come in.
I don't understand why questions the journey of the Parliament and showcasing it to the world and to the nation. I mean, we have done it earlier also. I mean, when 50 years completed, I mean, even then it was done. So, in 1997, if I rightly remember. So, let the future generation from today's session understand how did Parliament function in all these 75 years. So, there's nothing wrong in it. And as far as agenda goes, I mean, the leaders of the other parties were called in all-party meeting and everything was discussed there. And I'm very sure that it will stay within that parameters of this agenda which has been discussed there. If something new has to come again, it will discuss with the all parties and then brought it to the Parliament.
All right. Okay. I want to quickly bring in, before we go back to our political guests, because, even though, of course, we'd like to talk about and delve a little more and take a minute and step back and speak of the spectacular, euphoric journey of the Indian Parliament over the course of the last 75 years, there has to be politics, and there is, because ultimately, with what we are looking at, where we stand, especially at this 5-day from today till the 22nd of September, the special session has come with a fair amount of anticipation, speculation, controversy, whatever one might call it, in terms of what would be the agenda of it. And Pauline, before we go back to our political guests, the sheer fact that the Prime Minister himself, before the session began, when he addressed the media, he did say that this session will be short, but historic decisions will be made. Now, if you look at the 8 bills that might be coming up over the course of the next 5 days, are not historic in that, sense, quite, other than the EC bill, but quite, run of the mill. So what is the historic decision that we are actually looking at in terms of that, could come up, which the opposition say they're clueless about?
Well, that's something that the government, only the government knows, really, because they have that up their sleeves. And that's exactly the apprehension that the opposition expressed in that all-party meeting, which was convened under the chairmanship of the Deputy Leader of the Lok Sabha, Rajnath Singh, yesterday in the Parliament complex, where the opposition asked as to whether, first of all, is this a regular session or the special session? If you're saying that this is the 13th session of the 17th Lok Sabha or the 261st session of the Rajya Sabha, then clearly this is a regular session, because that is how the winter session of Parliament would have been categorized. So this is not special. So in that sense, then why aren't you having a question hour or a 0 hour during these 5 days? And if it's special session, why is it special? The reason for calling it a special session, why is that not being revealed? And that's exactly what the government absolutely stayed mum about. You said that there are 8 bills, of course, that the government has listed out as part of its legislative agenda. That has, that is the list which has been circulated among MPs, saying this is the agenda that we're bringing. Nothing, like you said, nothing out of the ordinary over there. These are bills that were either introduced in the previous session of Parliament during the monsoon session. They're pending in both houses. So nothing new per se has been added to that list. And that's exactly why the opposition anticipates that over the 3 days that are listed for government business, which is Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, there could be something that the government could be coming up with, which they've not listed. And that's exactly why they've said that this list of business, which they shared earlier with MPs of the Lok Sabha, they called it the tentative list of legislative business. And as far as the Rajya Sabha is concerned, they categorically stated that this statement of the list of business should not be taken as exhaustive. So that is why the opposition believes that there's something that the government has up its sleeve, and the Prime Minister has already hinted at historic decisions. And so it's going to be interesting to see what is it that the government brings in terms of its agenda on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Or is it just special because of this discussion which is happening on the parliamentary democracy and its journey over the last 75 years, and of course the shifting of Parliament and proceedings from the old building to the new building, which is to happen tomorrow, Preeti?
Well, you're right there. Today, of course, there is a discussion on the 75 years of the journey of the Parliament. And tomorrow, after a special small ceremony, it's also on the day of Ganesh Chaturthi, that what we've seen, what's been iconic of the Indian Parliament, the temple of democracy, it's the picture of it is there on, so many government documents as well.